Hey everybody, welcome back to the Vinyl Rewind podcast. Today I'm speaking with Israel Nebeker of the band Blind Pilot. We're going to be talking about their latest release, In the Shadow of the Holy Mountain, plus a whole bunch of other topics. Israel, thank you so much for being here, man. It's such a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So it's crazy because I'm one of those people that first discovered music through the single of the week.
Really?
Yeah. And I went back. I don't often open my iTunes these days just because of the nature of streaming. But yeah, I was like, sure enough, yeah, July 2008.
Wow.
And like when you played that song live, it was like, whoa, all these memories came back.
Yeah.
And it, I'm sure that was life changing for the band.
Yeah, it really was. It was like I was living in Portland trying to make a path in music, and I will never forget that moment when that single of the week started climbing the charts, and I was just pacing back and forth in my apartment like, okay, there's like 1 million people that have heard my song. Last week we played a bar and it was our friends and a couple randoms. It changed everything in a moment. Yeah. You know what happened was Amy Mann, songwriter, she heard our music randomly on MySpace, and she reached out, and I was like, is this who I think it is? She said, well, do you want me to introduce you to my friend who works at iTunes? He's like the head of marketing at iTunes. And so she introduced us to him, and he put us on a single of the week. So that all happened just because Amy Mann randomly heard our music on MySpace.
That's awesome. Obviously, it was meant to happen, as far as I'm concerned, but I don't know, it just got me thinking, like, today's landscape is so different, but it wasn't that long ago.
Sure. Yeah, it's changed really fast.
For you and your songwriting, what comes first, or is it kind of at the same time?
It's different ways. I don't really have a formula. Most songs come when I'm not expecting them, like in a moment. A melody and a line will come sometimes in dreams. I'll wake up from songs and write down as much as I can remember. Those are the best moments when it comes together. Like, okay, what does this lyric and this melody mean? What does it feel like? And then the work of it, for like my job, is just to like sit and listen for the rest of it to come through, try to figure out what does that line mean? And sometimes they're really hilarious. Like that's just absurd. I don't know what that line means. And, if I sit down, I'm like, I have no idea what I'm going to write. I'm just going to see if I can bring a song through. It usually starts with the melody. That feels like the easiest to step into. That's in your body. That's just like present. And the lyrics, I think because lyrics define meaning, they're a little scarier. It's like, oh, well, as soon as I bring in that much description, then I'm really gonna say something here with this song. So that comes second.
That makes a lot of sense. And I'm thinking of, I always go back to the Beatles, but I'm thinking of like that moment in Get Back when it's not like an all is lost moment, but there's like definitely that it's a low moment, and Paul just starts strumming what would become Get Back. And it's just like, he didn't even have words yet, but he's just like, and then I don't know, for some reason, I'm like thinking of that, like, I'm imagining you doing that in a sense, but songwriting, there is no right or wrong way to do it.
Yeah, I think it's different for everybody. I mean, I could never compare myself to Paul McCartney in that, like in moments like that, but
I was relating.
Yeah. Oh, totally. How amazing that is on film, to see that part of the process. It's really cool.
I wish that existed for every one of their albums. Even just audio recordings, sure, just a little bit, but we only get the little bits. And I was reading and seeing other interviews you've done, and this is the first record in 8 years for the band, but that was largely a result of like writer's block. Yeah, right. I mean, I'll get that when it comes to like writing stuff for this channel, but like it's not so dire. It's just me. But here it's like a whole. You get the whole band, and it's like, did it feel like it was all on your shoulders?
Yeah, it did. I mean, but not that the band they were wonderful. They were really patient. They were And it was dark years. It was hard because I could see, their belief that we would ever do anything again kind of waning, and and mine too. I read a lot of books on writer's block or artistic blocks, and I did things to try to shake it up and shake myself out of it. But I think it's because of the way that my process is. I'm not responsible for what comes through. Like I'm really just listening, and the songs come through, and they just weren't. And so I tried a lot of like craft focused remedies that didn't work. And throughout that, I had a sinking suspicion that nothing craft focused is gonna work. So like the craft of songwriting. So like writer's block in the sense of like I'm sitting here, I've got the pen, I've got my guitar, nothing's coming through, I can't write it, I can't come up with anything. It wasn't like that. It was more just the channel that usually songs come through just was closed. It was like the songs were speaking to me saying, this isn't the right place for us anymore, and I think that was true for me to an extent. Everybody in the band is amazing creative musicians and songwriters and painters and artists on their own, and they had their passion projects, and Blind Pilot had become our job. It had become kind of professional feeling, and I think the songs just didn't feel safe coming through into that atmosphere, and that atmosphere needed to change. So that ended up being the thing. When I did commit to changing that, came upon a strategy to do so, songs just started coming quite a lot.
Before you discovered that, was it scary?
Oh, it was terrifying. I mean, I think for any artist that's part of who they are, what they do, what they contribute to community. It's terrifying to go through a drought, because all of a sudden you don't really know who you are, what your worth is, what you contribute.
Did you consider like a backup plan at a certain point?
Mostly I just kind of like spiraled in despair of like, I have no idea what I could possibly do with this life that I would be happy doing,
Well, that's hard.
It's hard.
It sounds so hard.
Yeah. But it's also such a privilege to be able to do something you love so much for a job. And I was faced with the reality of, okay, what will I do if I can't do this for a job anymore?
Was Blind Pilot able to like do tours in between these two records?
No. I mean, I was practically begging our team and management, like, please let me tour. I need to play music with people in a space. But it was a strong and good argument for, you don't want to be that kind of band. You don't want to just keep playing an album that's like from 2008, 2012. You need new music if you want to tour. So
interesting.
Yeah.
To not have that creative outlet, I really feel for you. And I've gone through a similar, albeit a little different crisis of like, gosh, what do I do?
It's a tricky thing being an artist in our world. It's tricky.
I'm so glad you found the way to the music again, or the music found the way to you. What exactly was like the missing link for you to have the music come back, or do you know?
The first step was, I said, okay, I think I have to listen to the songs, and I need to listen to what they're saying to me, which is like, this isn't an atmosphere that feels rich and full of life that we want to come into. So I was like, how could I change that atmosphere? It's dependent on all of us. But I decided I could make a solo album. So I basically had a conversation with songs, and I was like, whatever you come through as, however you come through, I won't censor you. I won't think about, will this be good for so-and-so could do a solo here, or how will this be on stage at a Blind Pilot show? I won't do any of that. I'll just take you as you come, and it'll be a solo album, and songs started coming. So that was the first breakthrough. Then I had the dilemma of, okay, these wonderful people who I love dearly have waited for me for like 5 years. I'm going to go to them and say, hey, I wrote an album, but it's a solo album. I couldn't do that to them.
Right.
So luckily, I woke up one morning after writing the solo album. I was about to go record it with the same producer that produced this, Josh Kaufman. And I woke up with this idea, like before you're fully awake.
Yeah.
It was, okay, I have all of July off. I'll just write the Blind Pilot album in July. And whatever comes through in that month, I can just share that generously with the band. And maybe it'll be good, maybe it won't. But it can be more about the band and less about the songwriting. And that was the intention I woke up with. And then as soon as I fully woke up, I thought, that's bonkers. Like, it took you 5 years to write one album. You're going to do another one in a month. But that thought wouldn't leave. And I went to the band and expressed it just like that. And they all responded very positively. And then I actually did it. It felt kind of miraculous. But I wrote this album in that month. I think because I had expressed this intention of, I want this album to be about the band. I want it to be about the band as its own living, breathing entity, less about my songs. They responded with mutual generosity, and this thing happened that hadn't quite been there nearly as strong for a lot of years, which was just mutual appreciation, just excitement for each other, wanting, encouraging each other to be more prominent in our roles. It was just, by the time we were recording it, it was just like a total love fest in the studio and in the Airbnb we were staying at after. It was just like everybody was really, really full of joy.
From that initial writing, from that 1 month of writing, did you record demos for that stuff, or?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. I recorded demos, sent it out to the band. We came together for just a couple weeks and we arranged all the songs. It was an interesting process because it was like, as soon as a song came through, I was like, okay, I'll see you later. And just like, what's the next one? Because I only had a month. So the songs were there and they were complete, but I didn't really know them very well yet. So sure. I kind of got to know them with the band. And we came up with our best versions for us. We toured on that for like a few weeks leading up to the studio. When we went into the studio, I had just recorded the solo album with Josh Kaufman, so I warned them ahead of time, he's going to change every song. Like every song, like we're going to, like, don't get attached to this, basically, because his process is very exploratory. While you're in the studio, while, the tape is rolling and you're playing, it's like, what if you change the time signature for this song? What if this was a waltz instead? What if...
I love that.
And then it happens over and over that he has this amazing sense of finding the truer spirit of a song.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a gift.
It is, yeah. And especially, and what a gift to us in the recording process to have somebody guiding that while you're recording, because then you get like the first take. Like a few songs on here, it's just the first time that we played the song that way, and so it has this energy.
And when you on your demos, what are you playing?
For a couple of the songs it was piano, but yeah. I'm more a guitar player, so yeah, mostly just guitar and singing, and just stripped down song, sending it out to the band so they get the bare bones idea.
Did any songs not make the cut?
No, I mean, I needed all of the songs that I yeah. In fact, it was going to be a 10-song album. One song came through very last minute, so which that was Don't You Know, which has the line about the Holy Mountain.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great title too.
Thanks.
What is the significance, or can you talk about the significance of that?
Sure. Yeah. After I wrote the album, the 10 songs, and got together, arranged them with the band. I went on a trip to be part of a documentary retracing my ancestral lines that go back to northern Scandinavia, Sami people above the Arctic Circle. They're semi-nomadic, dream culture. They're
Wait, you said dream?
yeah, they're really like dreams.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It was amazing to me how much made sense about my personality that when I went there, like, including how I write songs. Like, I went there mostly with the intention to learn about their music,
Right.
and I was delighted and amazed that they regard, even in their language, the way that they speak about songs, like nobody writes songs. They don't say that. It doesn't come from a craft or a skill.
Yeah.
Songs just come through. You bring them through. In that way, songs are regarded as their own spiritual entities, and they respect them as that. But anyways, I went on this trip. I met with a Sami shaman at the beginning of the trip, and he took me on a drum journey. I had a vision of the Holy Mountain, and it was I in this drum journey, my dad, my grandmother, her mother, showed up, greeted me, and basically said, "It's good that you're here. It's good that you're in Sapmi. It's good that you're making this journey, that you're trying to connect to your family, to us, but come further, come further." And they kind of took me up that ancestral line to meet more and more of my ancestors until that line just became a path, and that path went into the Holy Mountain, this mountain, and I knew in this vision that the mountain represented the origin of that line, but not just the origin of my family and this line and where I come from, but the origin of all of us. And that was what they wanted me to understand. It's good that you're connecting to your family, but the reason it's good is because that is connection to all of our source, and it's connection to where we all come from, everybody in the world. So they wanted me to understand that significance.
Wow. What a cool experience. And you said that was on the coming off recording that.
So it was between learning this, like, getting to know the songs with the band. I went on the trip and I came back and went right into the studio. So I was like full of that energy from the trip.
Okay, so that's in there. That's in there.
Yeah.
That makes sense now. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I dig that, man.
Thanks.
Wow. You said it was a drum trip?
Yeah, I called it a drum journey. It was just chanting, yoiking, and they have these beautiful drums that are maps of different realms of existence written on them. And he said, just follow my voice, follow your vision, and but yeah, it was just me laying down and. Go ahead.
No, it's just kind of like it's sort of like meditative.
Yeah,
that's
for sure.
Wow,
for sure.
And how'd you get linked up with this documentary?
It was an old friend who is a producer for documentaries, and she called me up, said, "You're never gonna believe, I'm Israel. I'm gonna go meet your people. I'm gonna pet a reindeer. I'm gonna be, the documentary was focusing on the Sami people and their culture and their history." And I just said, I know this is part of my family line, but I don't know anything about it that I can't just read in a book. I've always wanted to go there, but I would just be like, hey, I'm American, but I'm kind of Sami. And the idea of meeting Sami people with purpose was so attractive to me. I just said, I will schlep gear, I will hold lighting, I'll hold boom mic, I'll pay my own way. Can I be part of this? And she introduced me to the director over Zoom, and there were a couple of Sami people on that Zoom call. And there was a moment where I was kind of being shy about my Sami ancestry, being respectful to them that they are Sami, they grew up in that experience. I did not. and they just stopped me and they said, this woman said, I think you're more Sami than you realize. And I hope you come here. I hope you come home. And that was a moment where the director said, she called me after and said, okay, do you want to be part of the documentary? What would you do if you were? I said, I would learn everything I could possibly learn about the music. She said, okay, let's do it.
Wow. When was this?
Just this last fall. So October, November this last year.
23.
23, yes.
Yeah. I don't know. It's going by quick. So it should be coming out relatively soon, hopefully. Yeah, we can see this.
I'm learning a lot about how documentaries are made. Apparently, it takes a lot of funding, and they do that as it goes. So they're luckily they're finding that, but it's been a process.
Okay, but it's all kind of shot. They're just trying to find completion funds, or
no? I think there might be one more trip in my future for it, and wow. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm looking forward to that.
Thank you.
And then, unless I missed it, your solo album
hasn't been released yet. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are the plans with that?
I'm hoping for late spring. That's
okay.
Yeah. But I recorded it before this album, so I'm just like dying to get it out in the world.
Yes. And who plays on it?
The producer, Josh Kaufman, plays a lot, and it was basically just all of his friends he had come in that he knew in the studio over there in New York.
Well, that's exciting. I'm excited for you, and I really love that idea of performing the new songs before you record them in front of a live audience to kind of workshop them in a way.
Yeah,
like get that feedback.
Yeah, that was important to me because over the years I've learned, especially with Blind Pilot, we shine as an in-the-room, music being made in the air kind of band. That's where it feels the most magic. And we can do the multi-track, recording in a studio and all that. But I wanted to get that going with live shows before.
I have to ask you, because I'm a big fan of the Goonies.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
me too.
But I was like, I was watching some other interviews, and you talked about growing up in Astoria, and I was like, what?
I live, my place is like just up the street from the Goonies house where really? They filmed. Yeah, the kids living.
And what is the overall feeling towards the film in the town today?
Well, I think today the town fully embraces it and loves it because it's a cool movie, and people come from all over, like from Japan and France to like see landmarks that are in the movie. And so, yeah, the town's for the most part pretty inviting about it.
So for me, Lost Boys, like I grew up where it was shot. So like watching it, like it brings me back to being like a kid.
Yeah.
Because it's like things are so different now in the town, but it's like I recognize where things are. Is that the same thing for you?
Totally the same. Yeah, I see the landmarks. I'm like, oh, I remember. I was really little, but yeah, it was. I was alive when it was shot, so I remember the landmarks looking that way.
Yeah,
yeah. I love Lost Boys.
So good. I love the soundtrack.
Mm-hmm. I watched that movie recently, like Halloween. I was like, what kind of scary movie do I want to watch? And it was so much better than I even remembered as a kid. And when that scene came up, I thought, this is hilarious that they're, like the idea that this just goes on the beach every night.
Flaming drums.
This bodybuilder saxophone player, it was like, what is this?
I mean, as a kid, I thought that was like the most hardcore music, just based on all the extras. But like, it's like this far from soft rock,
Sure.
I've always wanted to make a trip up there.
Yeah, you should.
To Astoria, just to see the grounds, the hallowed grounds of
the Canadian. Yeah, it's a good spot. It's really there's a lot of natural beauty, and it's
that too.
Yeah. It's changing, for the most part. It still is. There's a lot of beaches where you might just be the only person on the beach. And yeah.
I heard like the old jail is kind of a museum.
Yeah, it's a film museum.
Yeah. Okay.
I think because it's featured in the Goonies, and they're like, what do we do with this? I heard a story at the time. The film didn't know what to do with this pirate ship, this like to scale pirate ship that's in the movie, and they offered to give it as a gift to the city, and the city, being like a fishing city, was just like, no thanks. Like, what are we gonna do with a giant, pirate ship?
Right.
Just gonna it's gonna be a pain, and I can't believe that the city turned it down. It would be so amazing if they still had it.
I know. I always love asking my guests about Beatles, because that's like a popular subject with my viewers.
Yeah.
But you picked All Things Must Pass, so we should talk about that album.
Or I don't know, the Beatles. I love the Beatles.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite album of theirs? It's okay.
It's probably the White Album, and yeah,
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's because that was the one I heard most growing up in my house when I was a kid, or it's just, I don't know. It just is such a, I love it.
So I read a kind of someone online recently said, like, the album sounds haunted. And I was like, I never thought of it that way. And I guess I can see where they're going with that in some instances. But yeah, it is kind of just its own thing in a way.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Because they almost are doing their own thing on that album.
Right. Like a lot of it was recorded separately.
Yeah.
Which is amazing that they still found a path or the capacity to make an album where they weren't talking to each other. And it's pretty amazing. I was listening to, I forget which album. It might have been Let It Be, but I was listening to one of their albums just a couple months ago at home, and I had this funny thought come. I was just like, all four of them are such incredible musicians, not only in their skill, of course, but also just the light that they bring through. The way Ringo drums, it's just like full of spirit, full of just human heart. The way that each of them, what they bring is like, they would be tremendous icons on their own. And it just, this funny thought came in. I was like, it's a miracle that they were in the same town, same age, that they met, that they came together and created this. Like, that's a miracle. Like loaves and fishes, like whatever, yeah. That's maybe proof of God for me, is the Beatles, that the four of them came together. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah. And it makes me wonder too, like this day and age. I mean, because people always say like, oh, who's the next Beatles or this or that, but it's just like, now you can just stay at home with a ring light and TikTok, and nothing against that, but you're not necessarily trying. You don't have to create a band to get out there. You can just do it all on your own. It's like there's good and bad about it.
I agree. I think because music, like the industry, was undefined enough for a spiritual phenomenon like the Beatles to come through and be that, and be like something that nobody had any idea what this is, but we're crazy about it. And I think it's just much more defined now, and the channels are much more defined.
Even genre was kind of defined in a way.
Yeah.
Like there were rules, but like we had like examples of super famous, like, yeah, the Elvis and Sinatra, but like, a band like the Beatles was just like, on, it's just unheard of, I guess. And really,
and they were,
no one's really done it since. And I don't think you could.
Right. That's a common conversation in the music world. Like, what is the formula? And could that ever happen again? What happened with the Beatles? And for me, I think it was, I have to attribute it to the people that they are. And I think absolutely miraculous that the four of them came together.
And there's also the idea of like a barrier to entry too. Like you had to be good enough to get the attention to want to have someone spend money on you. You know, recording technology is so accessible now that, you know, but consequently there's a lot more things to cut through to get to stand out. There's less ways to really get in front of a lot of people all at once. Like in your example with the single of the week, right? You know, that you can maybe get on, like, I don't even know what the Spotify playlist is. You can get on that kind of stuff, but it's not the same level.
Right. I think it's TikTok now. I think that's like the iTunes single of the week.
You get that. But it's always accompanied with like a video though. And it's somebody else,
right?
You know, it's always a different video. So it almost takes away a little bit from.
I agree.
From the song.
I agree. I think it's changing the nature of what music is to us and what it means.
And how you write.
I've noticed songwriters coming up now in their early 20s who their musical heroes they're learning about through TikTok. I'm noticing just 20, 30-second songs are the norm. It's like, oh, right. Why would you write a 3 or 4 minute song if only 15 seconds of it is going to get used? You're just searching for that. And I don't know, like I want to remain optimistic. I am ultimately optimistic that art is an inherent part of the human condition and who we are. It will always thrive. It will always find a way to come back and bring us meaning. But I don't think we're doing it any favors right now with splicing it down to 15-second attention span.
Or AI.
Yeah, that can be troubling too. I think, you know, honestly, this is deeply pessimistic after saying I'm trying to remain optimistic, but I think we're paving the way perfectly for AI to just take over. I think by shifting the meaning of what music is to being less of something that deserves our attention, deserves us reaching beyond in ourselves to try to hear what it is, and instead changing it to be, this is something that is just in the background that makes us feel nice. I think we're paving the way for AI to be like, well, I can do that. Again, I think even if it goes there, whatever music and art has been for humanity throughout our entire existence will eventually triumph again. It'll always come back to that. But it's weird times. It's really weird.
Yeah.
There's obviously some really positive aspects, and there's amazing artists being able to find their voice still. I'm just not so sure about the format of having music be the passive thing in the background. I think that is a part of what music does and does for us, in us. You still see teenagers coming out to shows and waiting for that 15 seconds when they're going to play the song that has that part of the TikTok thing that they've heard 1,000 times. It still is bringing excitement, but I think it's missing, like I said, what I love about vinyl is that it requires some effort. You need to be with it. It's going to reach the end of the side, and if you want to hear the other side, you have to come over and change it. It's very minimal effort, but it's like enough. It's enough effort that you're engaged with it. And I think the more we get away from that, the more we miss out on a magic thing that happens when we give our own effort to music.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just passive versus active listening. Yeah. And I do both. It just depends. But yeah, I definitely find, even this record here, I first heard it on Spotify and I was like, yeah, it's okay. But then I listened to it on vinyl and I was like, oh my gosh, it sounded completely different. And on both sides, there's a locked groove at the end.
Oh.
So it's kind of creepy in a way.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just totally different on vinyl. I know it's the same. I know it's the same, but
your experience was different.
Yeah. And same thing with this record too. That it's like it's something clicked differently being engaged. Now, it could probably be the same thing with a CD maybe. I don't know.
Sure.
I think it's just the fact that it's easier to stay engaged and be active listening when it's physically touching needles.
Yeah.
It's something magic,
Right. It's a funny thing, and I'm guilty of this too, but if you ask people, what are you listening to now? They usually say, well, hold on, let me open my Spotify and then I'll tell you. Like I don't know the names off the top of my head, but if you're listening to something on a physical format, you have to know the name so you can go find it and put it on.
So do you know the band The Church?
Maybe not.
They had this kind of big hit in the 80s.
Okay.
Under the Milky Way Tonight.
Oh yeah, that's great.
So he's not a founding member, but he was a early member, guitarist. Anyway, he's not with them anymore, but I talked to him and he's got this collection of like over 35,000 albums, and yeah, it's insane. And I'm like, does it ever get difficult? Do you ever forget where something is? He's like, yeah, there's this one band, this artist, I can't remember I think it's Alex. I don't remember his last name. It's like I got to start at A and go all the way to Z, and it's like this look that he's like I don't want to.
He's still looking for
funny.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but yeah, you do, and but for me, it's like some of the stuff is like I only have one record of that artist, and it's like I can't always remember it, but it's like if I remember that it's under like a folk rock thing, I'm like, okay, now I'll just go there to find it. Yeah. And then also, it's like a kind of commitment to get something on physical format.
For the musician, you mean, or for the for the
end user, the listener? Yeah, it's a commitment. Like, hey, I'm gonna own this. I gotta take this with me. I'm gonna put it on a shelf or whatever.
Yeah, I think it's pretty remarkable. It speaks a lot to. I think it's a pretty cool expression on behalf of listeners that vinyl is making a resurgence and there's this boom with it. What I hear in that expression is I need to have a direct relationship with the people making the music that I love. I'm not okay with not paying anything for just listening to it on my phone whenever I want. I want to actually purchase this physical thing and feel a direct connection. Because it doesn't really make sense. It's less convenient. You have to like a lot less convenient. You have to have actually like a good system and a good turntable, and you have to maintain it. And it's a lot.
Yeah, I'm always an advocate for however you can get it. Yeah, you got to listen to it.
Yeah,
but if you can, it's available cassette, CD, vinyl. Because a lot of people, they're getting priced out right now. With the rising prices, like CDs are making a big comeback, and cassettes are so cheap for the artists to manufacture. They're coming back too.
Yeah,
it's just full circle. It won't be ever as popular as unfortunate, but yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I don't want to keep you any longer. I really appreciate it so much.
Yeah, it's great.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me in this amazing space full of vinyl. It's great to talk to you.
Yeah, thank you. Everybody, be sure to check out Blind Pilot's new album. It's out now. It's available on vinyl, as well as what we got, CD.
We got CDs and vinyl.
Awesome.
And
and you're on tour currently. So you probably won't make the LA show tonight because this video won't be out yet. But definitely see them live in person. It's an experience that you won't want to miss. So, all right, thank you so much for watching. I'm your Vinyl Geek, and I'll catch you on the flip side.